Guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing my awards for the AFL so far this season. First up, we're going to have the Brownlow, the biggest award. This is a very interesting one because normally, sometimes the best player of the season doesn't even win the Brownlow, and that's because some people from the same team take other players' votes. Sometimes they only get a 2 or a 1 in a game. So sometimes the best player that I believe in the season doesn't actually win because the team is really good and their team finishes first, second or third. So normally what we've seen in the past couple of years is that like that mid team, like from about 6 to 12, someone in that bracket normally wins the Brownlow. It's not going to be the top 3 teams. I know Hawthorn with Tom Mitchell last year won it, but that was kind of a clear favourite last year. This year it's kind of interesting. I believe it's interesting with the Brownlow. So I've got 3 candidates. The first one, even though his team's the last on the ladder at the moment, it's got to be Paddy Cripps. What he's done, he's carried his team. He's playing with a bunch of, I'm going to say it, he's playing with a bunch of VFL players and he's carrying that team. I know they're not doing well. People are calling for Bolton's head, but he is just putting up insane numbers. If he was on a mediocre team, this Brownlow race is not even a question. He's winning that Brownlow. It's just that he's not going to get enough votes because his team's not won enough games. It's just as simple as that. So it's really tough for Paddy, and I hope he gets help. Through trades this season. Through the draft, we've seen them draft Sam Walsh. He'll be a contender for Rookie of the Year or the Rising Star nominee. So I really want to see help at the Carlton Football Club. They haven't really been contending for a long time now. So it would be good to get a very old Victorian seed team back in there. I know I'm a Hawthorn supporter, but you want to see teams being competitive, and Carlton at this point are not really competitive in the AFL. So that was my first one. My second one is Lachie Neale of the Brisbane Lions. Kind of a sleeper pick, this one, and I believe that he is my favourite to win it so far. You see the numbers that he's putting up. He's putting up about 33 disposals. He's a contested ball freak. He's a clearance freak. He's kind of that Tom Mitchell kind of player, but he's not really getting recognised, and he should be because he's the best player in the Brisbane Lions. The Brisbane Lions are pushing for top 4. I think they're 5th at the moment behind Richmond. Don't quote me on that, but I think they're around that 5th spot, and it's due to him, and he's taken that team to the next level, and that is why I think that at this point in time, I think they'll make finals. I think they'll make the top 8, and it's a lot to do with his play, and that's why I have him here. I think that he will definitely get more votes than a lot of people expect him to do. So, yeah. Another one, this one's a tough one because we saw last year how a lot of people expected Max Gawn to do really well in the votes, and he didn't really do well as a lot of people expected him to do well. So I got Brodie Grundy as my 3rd player on this list, and he has taken his game to another level, and he's become, in my opinion, the best ruckman in the league, above Max Gawn. Now, I think his clearances is another thing. He's like another midfielder in that Collingwood midfield. There was a lot of questions surrounding that Collingwood midfield at the start of the season, and a lot to do with the play of guys like Steele Soderblom and Adam Chalor, but he is definitely the key and the anchor for that midfield, and his hit-outs to advantage, his hit-outs in general are just, off the charts. So I think he's my final contender. For who I think will win it, I think Lachie Neale is my pick for the Brownlow. So that's my pick for the Brownlow. Moving on to the Coleman. The Coleman medal looks like a one-man race at this point. It's just Jeremy Cameron's Coleman medal to win. He hasn't scored a goal in the last 2 games now against Hawthorn and Carlton, and they smashed Carlton by about 90 points, so I don't know why. I think he kicked 0-4 again like he did against us, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. He just needs to fix a few things, but I think he'll get it back together, and I think he'll win the Coleman. So there's not really much to say about this one. I got Ben Brown and Tom Hawkins to really fight for that, but I need Ben Brown to, kind of be a little bit more consistent and show glimpses. He saw glimpses against teams like Carlton where he can kick 5 in like a half, and then just go quiet for a game against. I don't know how he went against the Swans. I think he only kicked a couple, but he's got to show that consistency to be that leading goal kicker, and he hasn't really shown that yet. But he's still young. He still can prove himself and still can be that leading goal kicker in the AFL. Only time will tell. And Tom Hawkins has always been a solid forward, but I think this year probably not going to be because of the amount of options that Geelong have. Gary Rowan stepped up. They've got so many options. They're kicking so many points. They're kicking at least 100 a game, so it's very hard for him to, individually be as high because of his team's performance, kind of like the Brownlow. For premiers, who I think will win the cup. Now, I've got all 3 Victorian teams. I think a Victorian team will win it. I don't think my team will win it. Hawthorn. I hope that we make finals. It's kind of a toss up of what I'm thinking at the moment. I think we'll just miss. But we've had a lot of injuries and it hasn't really panned out the way I thought it would this season. Obviously, Tom Mitchell went down early, but that's enough about Hawthorn. Moving on to the premiers, Geelong. Geelong they've been that team that has been steady throughout the whole year and hasn't had that bump yet, as we've seen with Collingwood, with West Coast, with Adelaide, those teams that we've seen those bumps with. Geelong haven't shown a bump. Their only one blemish was against the Giants when they lost on their home turf. But other than that, they haven't showed any signs of slowing down. Their team's just consistent from the back to the middle to the forward line. And I think that, they're my favourites to win. I have Collingwood and Richmond as the other 2 that could come back. Why I put Richmond in there is because of their injury list. And their injury list is stacked, like Hawthorn's. I think that once they get those players back, like Revolt, Cochin, all those players fit and healthy, they're up there. They're up there with the best of them. So I think that they'll definitely contend this year. I hope that everyone's, fit and healthy. I want a good final series. I want the best players playing. And Collingwood, obviously going to be solid. They were solid last year, all the way through. Obviously didn't win against West Coast, but I think that Geelong will just win it in the end. I think they'll just be solid throughout the season, barring injuries. We did see Paddy Dangerfield go down against the Dogs last week. But other than that, I think that, Paddy should, from all accounts, I think should be okay and not to miss, any long extended periods of time. So I think that Geelong will win the league. Why I've left out from the top 3, I've left out teams like West Coast, Adelaide, Brisbane, who else? Port Adelaide, all those other teams. I've left them out purely because I don't think that they've got to the level yet that what they can get to with the Brisbane Lions. I still think they're a young team, and I think they're about a year or 2 off from really contending. West Coast haven't really got that form back, and they played one good quarter against Melbourne, and Melbourne have been terrible this season. So I think they haven't shown enough yet. Maybe that might be my opinion, might change later on in the year, but I think that they haven't shown enough yet to prove to me that they have got enough to win the league, to win the championship. With teams like Port Adelaide and Adelaide, Adelaide have been consistent, I guess, if you want to call it, maybe inconsistent actually. They've won a couple games on the trot and then they lost to Brisbane up there. So I think that they're just not up to where they were in 2017 in that run that they had. And Port Adelaide have always been that team where everyone thinks that they'll take the step up. It's kind of like the Belgian soccer team in the World Cups. Everyone thinks that the Belgian soccer team will take that next step, and they never do. So I think that'll be the case with Port Adelaide this year. With the Premiers Cup, I think it'll be Geelong is my pick. With the Rising Star, it's the last award. I don't really do like a coach's award. We don't really do that in the AFL. It's kind of like who gets the medal when they win. There's a coach's medal there. Can't remember what it's called, but they get a medal. So the Rising Star Award is between Connor Rozee, Bailey Smith, and Sam Walsh. Bailey Smith, we'll talk about him first because it's my third pick. Bailey Smith is really a dynamic young player. Reminds me a bit of James Walpole from Hawthorn. He's really proving himself to be one of those elite midfielders in the Dogs. And the Dogs have got a lot of good midfielders. I don't think that's what they need to do, the Dogs, is upgrade the midfielders, but they've done it. And he's slotted in there perfectly. He can slot in at half-back as well. We're seeing him push forward, and be a goal kicker. I think in a couple of years, he can be alongside Bonapelli, and that can be really dangerous. 1-2 combo in the midfield. So I think he's up there, but he's not up there with the two guys that I'm about to talk about. This race, for me, is the toughest one out of them all. And a part of me really wants to go with one, and the one doesn't. I really want to go with Sam Walsh, but I'm going to go with Connor Rozee. Sam Walsh, he's been great. He's been great for the Carlton Football Club so far this season, but hasn't shown that game-winning potential that we've seen. He's gotten the stats, he's gotten the metres gained, he's a very fit player, he's a very fit young man, but he hasn't really shown that game-breaking capacity yet. He's not shown that ability to break away and score breakaway goals from midfield. He's come up short, or he just hasn't had that experience yet, I guess, at the level that he's at. With Connor Rozee, he's been that dynamic forward player for Port Adelaide, and he's really kind of rejuvenated the Port Adelaide Football Club, with regards to, his play up forward. He's definitely helped them in a number of positions and places. So I think that he will win the Rising Star Award. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace. Cheers. Thanks.